You're watching Talkamania, and I'm your host, CJ. Welcome back to another album review, and today's album review, or whatever you want to call it, fan's perspective, or whatever you want to call it. Decapitation's Terrasite, the brand new Decapitation record. One of my favorite bands in the death metal, death grind genre, and one of the overall first bands I went to see live. Um, yeah, let's get into it. Decapitation has delivered a good album that will leave the fans like myself happy. I'm not going to speak for all fans, but I think this album is pretty much along the lines of what their other stuff is, but like, yeah. While not being their best album, actually nowhere near their best album. Their best album, yeah, I'm not going to admit it here because I probably do a ranking later down the road, but yeah, this is not their best album. I already know for a fact what my favorite album from them is, and this one's not it, but still accomplishes what they have done in recent times. The whole humans leading the world to destruction thing is honestly the fucking truth. And Cal DeCapin tells it like it is in the most savage ways possible, aka we eat our young stuff, the insignificance, that stuff like that, like those two songs I mentioned already here, which is on this album. Also, bring back the plague. Um, they're definitely in that whole like extinction is type thing that um, this album does stick around too long in some parts, but can be overlooked with the big parts that are in it. Definitely think there's some parts that kind of like drag on too long and kind of like I found myself kind of drifting off into other places instead of like being like really hyper focused on this album like I am with others. It kind of lets the listener drift off a little bit and kind of lose focus, but the tone is the classic Cal Decapitation, and you know exactly what band it is from the opening second. Uh, Overall, a fun album. I enjoyed heavily. The standouts were easy on this one, as the 5 songs I chose are just fantastic and some of the best that they've ever done. Terrasite adaptation, extremely intense from the opening minute. The song is an ass kicker on every level. And yeah, it is the first song. I'm a huge sucker for the first song. As you've watched this channel before, you know I say that all the time. Um, we Eat Our Young, the single from the album, and well, they are right about this one being the single. It's properly the single. This one's the best one. The blasting death grind is interesting and insane on this one. Very intense, very great. My favorite song on this album is this song as well. We Eat Our Young is the best song in this album. The one that basically got me so hyped for this album. The Insignificance, one that I mentioned before. The song has some of the best vocals and riffs on this album. Um, and this song being about humans being the virus is insane. Like, okay, the whole concept is like the virus of the world is the human race and that type of stuff. And well, it's pretty much the truth to look at like what humans have fucking done to the world. It kind of feel like okay, we kind of are a disease that's gonna yeah. And the world will go on. The song is why I like this band so much. One of the best on the album. It's just the fucking pacing of the song is great. Honestly, the pacing and then just what mentioned before. Uh, Celestalgia, I think it is. I can't really see that song too well. There's a lot of song titles that are kind of weird. This song is a ride with many different pace parts. I definitely like the pace changing on this one. Not really a whole lot pace changing on the other songs. It's basically just all straightforward, just through like just blasting on the other songs. But this one has a little bit like of a pace change in it. Still the all the way through blasting, but the blasting is like change pace somewhat. So definitely like that about that. This album is very fun to listen to. It's very intriguing with the lyrics. The lyrical content is really good on this one. Uh, Cal Decapitation really does make those savage points when it comes to like the whole like problems with the planet and stuff. They definitely make a really good like savage points with these songs. Um, but the whole thing about like bring back the plague and everything from the previous Death Atlas, that one is absolutely fantastic. This one is fantastic to a point. Definitely has its little. It's definitely a different record. It's definitely not like the same formula as the other ones are. Kind of like a more prog type album that's more like not the straightforward Cal Decapitation that you get before. But yeah, overall fun listen. I definitely had fun listening to this one, and I will see everyone whenever I decide to upload again. And that's up in the air of when it's gonna be, but yeah.